That's sit down and take a break. So you gotta open it now. Hang on, let me share. I was at the hospital all day. Your kid? My dad just found me. A second. You can do it. Go here. It's done. It should be here now. Okay. Vice President. Yes. Audio, video, we're back. Okay, there we go. We're back. Wonderful technique. Please take it away, sir.
All right. So I think I was just talking about the responsibilities of the budget committee. So the good news for the budget committee members is that once you the budget, your job is pretty much done until budget season next year. If any budget changes that need to be made throughout the year for unforeseen circumstances that come up throughout the year, the budget committee does not have to weigh in on those. That's forms. So the board can amend the budget as needed throughout the year once the budget is adopted for the year. There are almost all cities and counties, special districts don't require the budget committee to come back in to weigh in on the budget. Josephine County is a rare exception to that. We may make budget changes throughout the year. They do have to call the budget committee back, but unless there's a special rule built into the district or the charter, the budget committee's job is pretty much done once you approve the budget in the budget committee meeting. So this is the only scheduled budget committee meeting for the year. We can meet more than once if we need to, but it's certainly possible that we can, the budget committee can adopt a budget too. So this budget is a balanced budget as required by Oregon budget law. So the 3-page document that is being shared on the screen and that you have in front of you, the first page is just a brief budget message and kind of just going through a summary presentation of the budget right now. The second page is a brief description of what the district is, how it got started, and the district boundaries. And then the third page is a financial summary. Up on the top of the third page is a summary of the resources and requirements. And then the bottom part of the page there is some detail behind the budget estimates for the individual line item details that make up the expense side of the budget. So the budgeted total resources are $1,490,000. From the information that was provided to me, basically the current year budget for fiscal 26, which ends on June 30th of this year. In the current year budget, they basically just put $325,000 into materials and services. So that's the current year budget. And the year started with close to 1.6 million of total carryover resources, which came from a state grant several years ago. And the grant was provided for startup costs for the district. And so there's going to be, if the district spent its entire budget, there would be at least $1.3 million left over carried over into next year. But the information that was provided to me, it looks like the district is on track to spend well under that total budget this year. So I just assumed roughly that half of this year's budget would be spent by the end of the fiscal year. That's probably a conservative estimate. So that would leave the district with a starting fund balance of $1,450,000 $50,000 approximately. And so that makes up the bulk of your resources for next year's recommended budget. And then I assumed interest and other revenues of about $40,000 next year. So that's your total resources of 1.4 million. On the requirement side, the requirements which need to balance the resources, requirements include both expenditures and ending fund balance and contingencies. So we put in a line of 150,000 for the district's executive director, 128,800 for materials and services, a contingency of 200,000, and then an ending fund balance, unappropriated ending fund balance of a little over. So that makes up the requirement side of the budget. So at the estimated rate of operational expenditures, this grant would actually be sufficient to provide for over years, about 20 years of spending. So that gives the district plenty of time to work on the goal, and this is the main goal for next fiscal year as well, as I understand, and that is to try and secure a permanent tax base for the district. So rather than rural metro, who's the contract and fire rescue services provided for the district, rather than metro building users, it would be a tax base that would support the district's operations. So the main goal, as I understand, is to secure a voter-approved permanent tax base. And so the district is currently targeting May of 2027 to bring a tax measure for voters that would, if voter approved, would secure a permanent tax base for the district. And so since May of 2027 falls into next fiscal year, there are some costs related to that tax measure, that what would be the proposed tax measure that are built into next year's budget as well. So, so that's a summary of the budget, and so I would turn to that page 3 financial summary at this time. I'll briefly go over the individual line items that make up those estimates. And since this is the first year and we're literally creating the wheel for the first time, will be the budget. I would encourage the entire budget committee and board members to be thinking about, is there anything else that you see that might come up as an expense next year that hasn't been factored in the budget? So I didn't have a whole lot to go over than the types of expenses that are going to happen this year and what the basic plans are for next year. So just earlier this week, voted on a tentative approval for the contract for the new executive director, who I understand is sitting behind it. And the total compensation package that the board voted on was $140,000. So that would include all the benefits and taxes and everything. I put in $50,000 into the budget just in case there's a step increase given to the executive director towards the end of next fiscal year, to cover any payroll taxes or payroll costs that the board may not have factored into that $140,000 estimate. So that should give room for the district's one full-time employee that's planned for next fiscal year. Moving on to the materials and services, so I provided a breakdown of how I came to the estimate of $28,800 for materials and services. The district has a contract for services. That's just an independent contractor.
Let me ask a question about that.
Sure.
Can we consider, we've discussed, but moving her into personnel services, so she will become an employee as well, a part-time employee for PERS and other benefits?
Yeah, you could certainly do that. If you did do that, we would want to revisit the total cost. So if she moves into being a part-time employee of the district, that contractor, there's PERS to pay the taxes. And so we want to amend the estimated figure by the taxes and benefits that would be incurred. Yeah, if you did want to do that, that 9,600 or whatever the new estimate is, we would want to move that up into the personnel services line. And so the way that I'm recommending the board adopt the budget this year, once the budget committee is done and approves the budget, is it would be appropriated in just these main categories that are shown on the top of this page. And so your if it was as stated here, your legal limitation on spending on personnel services would be $150,000. You could spend up to $128,800 materials and services. So it doesn't really matter whether these individual line items at the bottom are just there for informational purposes. You wouldn't be limited to only spending $9,600 services contract. That's just that's just a breakdown of to the total budgeted figure. The legal limitation that the district would have would be that total figure of $100,000. So if you ended up having to spend a little bit more in one of those line items on the bottom, or again, you spend a little bit less in the category, that doesn't really matter. It's not going to the total spending category. And so yeah, if the district was planning on putting the admin services contract as a part-time employee, in-house employee, we wanted that approximately $10,000 fee for materials and services up into personnel category. So that's what we consider.
Has an examination been done of this position to make sure that it does meet state and federal requirements for an independent contractor?
That would be a question for the board.
Are you talking about our administrative assistant? Yes.
It's pretty hard. This is what we did for 30 years. It's pretty hard for a person to do that. They have to be free from direction and control over the means and delivery of the service, and have an independently established business in that line work for them to qualify as an independent contractor. That's without getting into the weeds. So, in terms of that particular piece of it, the board needs to take a longer look at it, and I'd be happy to consult.
Yeah, and if the board's already considering doing that, I recommend that we use the figure we have in here, and then that we move it up into the personnel services category.
I know our contractor doesn't have she's not saying, I only want to do this. She's very open either or. So it's not like well, we're going to lose her if she's not a contractor. It really is just helping us get going. And so eventually that position is going to turn into a administrative assistant for the director. So, yeah.
Frankly.
Yeah, but unfortunately, in the very beginning, you didn't have that option. So, yeah.
So the consideration, and I'm saying this openly because we're all on board here, the consideration would be we should just set it up and do it now because it's going to be June 30th. We have a little bit of time to get to that point.
So we're going to meet and discuss, because not only is there salary, possibly health insurance, health security is 6.2%, PERS is 20%, workers' comp is $1.07 per 100, unemployment insurance is 2.4% on top of that, paid Oregon leave is 1%. So we'd have to sit there and calculate to see how much.
So you're going to have to put. Here's my concern, though. Has the board of directors of the fire district, because we are the budget committee, but has the board of directors of the fire district discussed this in a public meeting?
Just on the incipient stages, there as a contact.
You could say, so if we go to this meeting with the recommendation that we included a budget for,
It has to go back to.
has to, that's what the most recommended, okay, good.
Yeah.
It would be the recommendation.
Because we've already done it in the manner they had said. And now you know, you gotta do something immediately. There's no, they don't give me, it's fun.
We
Just take care of it, like we discussed here, and everybody knows it. Oh. One way or the other, this way has to be contracted as a whole thing in itself, and then it's now, so instead figure out, can you do it, make it happen.
So currently she
Don't
has
get
a service contract to provide 20, yeah, she's a 1099 employee right now.
So we're paying her.
Correct.
And your exposure is limited in terms of the feds could come back on you, but the amounts of money that are involved are pretty small going backward. You could amend the information assuming she filed her taxes, and all of that. There still could be some liability, but it's going to be very small liability for the short period that was involved. But going forward, you really don't want to create any more liability.
We just recently moved forward with the intent of having employees with the hiring of our executive director. So until that time, we haven't been established enough to have an employee. So our option was a contract employee to assist with services until we became a employer.
And like you said, so you would do, it's just a matter of making sure you do it quickly. So it's not enough for somebody to come down and say they're going to down.
So this mixture, the fire department sent this for budget, KJ, to be approved tonight, so we have these recommendations, and basically it means we're gonna have a meeting for final approval.
You can approve the management part of it tonight, or take additional actions to decide.
Budget. They approve budget. We can.
Yeah, if the board anticipates going in this direction, I'd recommend we increase the dollar amount of that line item by probably about 35% increase to cover PERS and payroll taxes,
Plus a period of that. Is that gonna affect for two people? Okay.
and then move that new amount from materials and services up to the personnel services, and that's what I would recommend.
That would make the most sense to me.
So if we took just roughly out of contingency, and took 10% out of that contingency and moved that into personal services to cut, that'd be 20,000 to cover.
You said 35%? 36.
12. Unless the board has space, the contract employee to be working a lot more hours than they have been so far. You don't have to add 35% to the 9,600 figure. That'd be the total cost.
13,000. 12,000 yeah.
With the hiring of the executive director, there may be more hours that the administrative assistant would need to put in, so.
So if you wanted to up it to 15 or 20,000, then you say 20,000 would be a good safe figure.
20,000 would be safe.
So we could do that here with this budget tonight and just move 20,000 out of contingency, put into personnel services. I'd recommend keeping contingency, the dollar amount where it is, increasing personnel services by 20,000 and then 9,600 materials and services. So, okay.
Actually, could you mind if you're asking? I'm just gonna make sure. Yeah. No,
Jay, question to the interest in others, is that from the projected interest on the eligible?
As I understand, Rural Metro is also contracted to pay us for the contract between the district and Rural Metro. So I think that's 10,000 if I remember correctly. But yeah, that one is mostly interesting from the investment pool that most of the district funds are.
Any increase pay since retired. And that's something we need to consider right now.
Unfortunately, as the budget committee, we can't consider that right now. We're not the board, we're not the fire board tonight, we're the budget committee tonight, which is two separates, and we cannot make that decision tonight.
And I think we should have a conversation with the individual before we move on that.
Which is moving into personnel, getting benefits and all that, you know.
So the bottom line is we have to come up with a base salary to calculate all the other additional costs.
Which is what we're doing, whether it's the individual here, if we're somebody.
I think if we go back and meeting notes, we set a limit.
The contract says 40 hours a month. At the current rate of 25.
Yeah, so we already set that number. And I think you're right. It's just gonna mention, when he talked about step increase for the future pay position, when I worked at the city always budgeted the top step, max out with all benefits. Always that, even though third of the department was not there. They always wanted to budget for the max, so they knew that they had the ability to carry that in the year. So if we all promoted within a few months of it, it didn't offset the budget. So that's always something to keep in mind, is keeping that top pay position budgeted so that we don't have to worry about it, even though it's not there yet.
But also in your position that if you live $25, you put in place $25 a contract. $25 base salary plus all of the benefits is a different thing. So that is a huge pay increase.
Yeah.
And that means
If you look at cost increase.
it's not, and the cost increase and the pay increase.
Some of it does not go to the employee. It's a cost of the employer, unemployment insurance, workers' comp, paid leave, that does not go to them.
So being public board, what requirements are placed on the board in terms of providing benefits to staff?
Of course.
So, again, getting into the fire board, which we are not tonight. So the financial answer to that is, because this is a fire district, they do have to participate in state's PERS program. But other than that, the benefits are very similar to the requirements of the other public or private agency. There's not enough employees for some of the benefit requirements to kick in, but the part-time administrator assistant position doesn't have enough hours to qualify for required health insurance. And so basically you add PERS and payroll taxes to whatever the rate is, and that's where I came up with the conservative 35% estimate, because PERS alone is going to be about 20%. So, Mr. Chair, you could entertain a motion to move, to increase the personnel services by 20,000 and then remove the 9,600 from materials and services. It sounds like the committee may want to entertain that motion.
Right. Okay, so help me with my verbiage on the legal.
Basically what you just said.
Yeah.
So you would want to say, I would entertain a motion to, on what you just said.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to remove the 9,600 from administrative services contract to the personnel services line, and that's first, right?
Yeah, and change the amount to 20,000.
It changed the amount below to $20,000.
Adding it to personnel.
Yes, so we're adding 20,000 to the personnel services line. We're removing 9,600 from the materials and services line.
So I will make a motion to remove the 9,600 from the admin service line. Place 20,000 into, add 20,000 into personnel services, making it 170.
Second.
And so how we would balance the budget, then we would end up removing, we would end up lowering the ending fund balance by 10,000 for. So that's how the budget would be balanced in the end.
Are we looking at the difference between admin and what we're trying to do personnel as contingency to make the difference? Where are we?
Just keeping that $200,000 contingency the same, so the difference would be taken out of the ending fund balance.
So our new ending fund balance would be 1,379,600. We said take out 10,000 for it.
Yeah, take it out of it.
Yeah, so the new,
bottom, I'm sorry.
yeah, so the new unappropriated ending fund balance would be
1,600,000.
1,800,000.
It's 280. Yeah. So 1,800,000. So
So I think we have a motion and we have a second.
yes.
Okay. Okay, so with this is voted on, we can go through those other line items as well.
Well, we were discussing it just now. Do we have any more?
Yeah, so is there more discussion on the proposal?
I would just like to see we had administrative assistant under executive director for that. What we do. So it's not putting so underneath executive director, we're just putting on a line, administrative assistant, put that 20,000 after that.
Yep. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Let's see. So let's.
So we can call the roll.
Yep. Sherry.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, we're all involved, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Danny?
Yes.
I'm going to abstain at this time.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
And Paul?
Yes.
And
That's right.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Motion carries
7 to, or no, excuse me, there's 10 of us, so 9.
Motion carries
9 to 0, because he abstained.
9 to 10.
9 to 0. There's, so yeah, it's,
You'll get calculations on doing right now. We have a board discussion.
okay, so moving on to the other individual line items that make up materials and services. Estimated 3,000 for utilities, which is phone and internet. 15,000 for advertising and educational material. So there's certain notices that need to be published in the paper at different times throughout the year, including during the budget process. As I understand, the district does want to do some educational activities to educate, the district voters and district citizens about what the district is and what it does and what it's planning to do.
We have room to show up a number of us at different events that are going in the community, come in with, shirts and have a booth or something. Most of them, we could get the booth for free. Obviously, we would need to volunteer to show up. But would that be an area that you can use doing something like that?
I think there's probably built into that number is probably about $10,000 of total cost for educational activities, which will include mailers and events and things like that. So, office supplies and software, put in 7,500 because Mark needs a new computer.
Yes.
Accounting payroll services, the estimate that the district received was 200 to 400 a month, so I just assumed 400 a month to be conservative.
All states in Road River.
Memberships and conferences, there's a SDAO membership, OFDDA membership, and a chamber membership, and then conferences is probably the larger dollar amount there. If any of the board members attend conferences, that's where the dollar amount start getting wrapped up for travel and conference costs.
Is there a certain percent appropriated for that?
Yeah. So there's not a whole lot there for travel and attending conferences. If you think that several of the board members along with your employees, if you think there's going to be several trips, you might want to adjust that. But that's helpful.
Yeah,
That's up to you.
past, Cheryl with, IB, she suggested, 1,000 to 2,000 for, board member for training and stuff because we were new at the time. I know that we got a grant last year. Scholarship, yeah, right, there's scholarship, yeah. It would have paid for all of us to go last year, but we could apply for again and possibly get, but it's not guaranteed, so that dollar figure may need to be more.
I also think there's gonna be some memberships that Phil's executive directors have to pay for and attend some training as well.
Well, Ralph's got the numbers we just sent you. What was your conference expenses?
When was that?
Okay.
I did see one.
2008.
It was, 2018.
But I think I paid on fuel and I remember right that was.
Yeah, that was just a motel.
Conference that.
So if you have 5 members going,
It's $5,000.
It's 5 members, but we also have.
and let's see, yeah.
I didn't want to assume that, all the board members would be going, discussing, right, yeah, if you do anticipate that all board members will be attending at least one conference, that number should go up quite a bit, by, close to at least 1,000 per board.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So vehicle expenses, I put 4,000 in, most of that would be, thanks to fuel.
And initially, the first year, we're gonna be a little more than that. We discussed the executive director position, there was some more stuff that came up to go in the vehicle, as well as in the vehicle, should the director go to a base camp. And the first year expense of that is $11,563 for that stuff. After that,
Is that equipment?
that is equipment, and, well, I'll listen to you. It's vehicle maintenance, fuel, insurance, cell phone, laptop, business cards, uniform, first aid kit in the vehicle, fire clearance in the vehicle, the wildland PPE that's required, which is a helmet, jacket, pants, fire shelter. And like I said, the first year was $11,563 estimate. After that, you take the stuff that doesn't have to be purchased every year, and it drops it down to about $8,400 a year.
That's not all necessarily for the vehicle itself.
Yeah, it's not in the vehicle. Yeah.
Its cost would fall under.
Fire camp, and you could end up going in the fire camp team. And then when you go into those fire camps, you're required to have a certain PPE and things in the vehicle to provide care, immediate care. So it's outfitting the vehicle. Vehicle expenses should be more tires.
I estimate
Mechanical,
it's
stuff like that.
a year.
Yeah.
And then fuel on top of that, $6,000. I mean, we put 115 in it the other day, and it was still at a quarter tank in it.
Got to think in line for protective gear or protective.
Yeah, equipment.
So,
So,
No,
at least this week, under the fire chief.
At least a Bendix or something for the program.
Question. It may, because I haven't attended every board meeting, just, if the executive director position is just that information of the district until we get the voters to say, yes, we are a real, mid-road fire district. Up until that point, the executive director, in my mind, isn't working as a fire chief, safety safety level fire chief. Is this something that we can put off until if and when we gain the approval of the voters and when he becomes a real chief? I mean, that's not the right terminology,
Right.
you understand?
Right, just a quick, just a comment. I agree with your thought, and I think we all have shared similar thoughts. However, one of the things unique to us in Southern Oregon is we are wildfire heavy. And as a representative of the fire district, that would entail that individual to be forward facing at a command post or at a briefing that happens to be within the hot zone if there is. And
So you got the logo inside of the vehicle, you will be fully.
we don't need, like, I'm talking full structural turnout with SCBA and things, but for that forward facing presence, not a public image.
Certain parts of the fire district, we have to have somebody that can respond. Not paid free, but to an incident. And so that's part of the setup stuff is getting that.
yeah, part of the executive director's position is to interact with Chief Nelson too, so they could be listening together.
He's representing the district, so, yeah.
I understand that idea. Okay.
What was that number you came up with?
Well, everything that included, I was keeping everything lumped together.
Yeah.
$11,563. But like I said, there's a varying price on the new era fire shelters. I've seen up to $900, I've put $600 here, because it depends what we shot.
Would it be safe to say that that would fall under more of equipment and uniforms versus it wouldn't be under the vehicle? Vehicle is just maintenance, tires, gas.
I just lump summed it all together, because in the conversation with, all that stuff just got listed at the end of the
You
meeting.
see that as a line item.
Uniforms.
See, we have
Do we have that?
It's not there.
safety gear
Yeah, so
and put that budget in that.
the uniform.
And that's important too, because we did talk about, at the recent board meeting, we talked about importance expenses for that new position, because it's not a, payroll cost, it's a expense outside of it.
Captured all the uniforms equipment.
And the vehicle,
Equipment and PPE, just that line item, I would cover everything.
Because equipment,
So I would,
So that's about $1,627 plus whatever this we decide to do. That's just the well-in PPE part.
how much did you say?
1620.
So do we need,
So I would make a motion.
Nothing.
so that's 15.
So should we, so we'd make a motion that we add a line titled uniform equipment and PPE, and in that line allow 20,000 to cover radio equipment, all the items that we will need for this position.
A second.
Okay, let's call for the vote.
Further discussion.
so as a budget committee, if we decide, okay, we're just gonna add 20,000 to this budget he's prepared, at the end of the year, if we only spend 8,000 of that,
This goes to our ending fund balance.
so just so it's not gonna be like a critical, we need to go spend it.
No, it's not like.
When I started the city, we always had Christmas.
So-
I'm like,
When you start working with this and receive donated equipment and things, a little bit of different rules apply to valuation and things like that. You want to make sure that you got somebody that is conversant with GASB as well as FASB. FASB are the standards for financial accounting, GASB are the standards for governmental accounting. And so you want to make sure that your people, that you have good with GASB.
It's a lot of really stupid rules.
So my only other concern is that between the two things that we've done today, we've already added $40,000 to this. So I mean, the contingency needs to be there, but should we move that contingency to offset?
I think you start from scratch and we're trying to move forward with direct purpose and intent. So just because we put the number on it, doesn't mean we need to spend it all, but it gives us a buffer and it gives us a barrier in the event that things project or things occur that we're not necessarily thinking of right here at the moment. But if we tie ourselves to a lower number, then we're pulling really pretty tight. So I'd rather give us a little bit of, in the event that things do unfold or we have some needs, that gives us flexibility to meet them.
Yeah, as a board, you guys can allocate the contingency. You just have to take action on that at a board meeting. The ending fund balance, you can't take action on. So it's good to keep some contingency there for emergencies, like you were saying. It's really good.
so the contingency, that's what it's strict. We have conflagration. It's not conflagration yet, but it's in our district, so we're hosting. We have to be able to provide up to 24 hours for the conflagration.
Up to
72 hours. So that money cost could come into that fund real quick.
It'd be in
And if we were an established district with a tax base, I would be considered that money would
Just an idea, like, as of today, this includes the personal vehicle. We've spent $59,784.39 out of the budget we were given. We still got a little ways to go. If you would have added the executive director, then we'd be right around 209 right now. So,
we're pretty much spent like that. We're getting there.
Well, it's anything that's going to be a major change beyond. So we need to make sure keep things up.
Yeah, and or if you have a major emergency such as a wildfire, that if the district does incur any costs for that, that's something that you can spend even if it's not in the budget. So like natural disasters,
We just have.
our exception to budget law where you can actually spend as needed. And then you end up coming back and, board a budget adjustment, but something major like that. If you need to, if you need to spend the funds on that sort of thing, you can do that even if you don't have budget authority, technically.
Well,
So we still have a motion on the table, so if we're done with discussion, I'll let you, sure, I just make it sure.
Discussion, should we call for the question, to add, $20,000 to the budget for uniforms, PPE, and equipment. Is there anything else in that one? Okay.
Yes.
Sure. Yes.
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 And yes.
So. Aren't you glad you volunteered for this, Jay? We appreciate it. So we just dropped down to 980. Yeah.
And that's your bill fund.
Can you have a thought for
I don't want to do vehicles. And I can just, if there's no way that I can note that, if I can find how. So what is vehicles now? Fire,
Maintenance, fuels.
Fuel maintenance and there's no registration for 2 years, so.
It's
Fuel and maintenance.
Oh, you don't have a description out here on this one.
Yeah, it's
Vehicle maintenance and repair things in vehicle, but just something that's a little more specific to the application vehicle.
We put it in parentheses, just do fuel and maintenance.
Is that separate insurance or is that the district insurance?
District insurance.
And insurance.
Yeah.
So it's for repair and maintenance and fuel.
Vehicle repair, maintenance and fuel.
Yeah, this covers it.
Yeah.
That's not like it's the addition.
More years. We added just to.
It's up here under personnel expenses. Part of your contract.
Hey, move forward.
Well, we have a description area there too.
Yeah.
And that doesn't take a motion to.
No, that actually is just for information purposes. It won't, the final adopted budget will just have the totals for each category. Yep, so moving down, we've got 20,000 in legal attorney's expenses, and, hopefully that doesn't need to be used, but I think there was already more than 11,000 in the
Yeah, just got another $2,000.
Who was the attorney?
Sorensen, Ransom first.
So that's, 1,000 with COVID sort of issue, legal issue that the district may have to face during the insurance that is, I came up with the 5,000, there was the not paid in the current year is closer to 4,500.
Yeah.
So
Seems like it's low, and I think we voted that it was gonna go up once we hired employees and.
Yeah. You know, we paid $3,053 for just the general policy, and then it was $553 once we got the vehicle.
And then employee once,
Yeah.
in addition.
So is that gonna be too low?
No, it should still.
Should be
The original.
Is through SDAO.
Yeah, yes, which is the second subsection of the station.
Just see through
Yeah.
district and
You got a lot more, you got a lot.
which is part of SDAO.
So they based that initially on our tax base. And since our tax base was 0, yeah, so in some way, it will once.
Things. Yeah, interesting.
It's
That's basically your problem. The one you
School district's paying almost 600,000.
Yeah.
Steel.
Here's what I think.
Yeah.
So on to the next line, I just assumed $75 a month for meeting costs. I think it's 25 every time we meet the board meets here, so.
I should then say something, since we only meet once a year, maybe twice a year, we should have some figures and.
There's one budget committee that I've served on for years, that every time they have a budget committee meeting, they order a whole bunch of stuff from pizza, just consideration for next year. So a little larger figures here, we put in 20,000 for election costs, because there are 2 board seats coming up, and we were advised by the county that the estimated election cost just for the board seats could be around 19,000, 20,000. So that's where that comes from. And then I put 35,000 in for tax measure costs. So there could be a cost that needs to be paid to Josephine County if the ballot measure does land on May 2027. But I think the district needs to consider putting in some fact sheet type materials as far as what the measure is all about, and the cost of doing that could be significant depending on how you distribute that information. So there will need to be a political action committee one that does some campaigning outside of the district budget, but the district can put out fact sheets about what the measure is, and what it would do if approved, and the district can put out, the fact-based material that is not advocating one way or the other for the ballot measures. And so that's kind of where I came to the amount of 35,000, because if you end up sending out, in the mail fact sheets about what the measure is, that without alone could cost 10,000 to 15,000 cents.
The only election and tax measures, obviously, I'm sure the board will agree with this. But there are other ways that we can get, if the board chooses to go after amusements, there's some money and some help that can be given. So that's always going to be available, depending on what the board decides to see.
To offset which one?
The election,
The special election cost is a flat rate, there's no change in that.
Yeah, that's the cost that the clerk to put it on the ballot.
so that's not on it, so
It's not negotiable.
so we can still after
As a
endorsements to get some.
As a district, though, the district itself cannot do
Yeah, so that's where the activity would be done by political action,
like Friends of the Fire District.
So that tax measure, line is actually a lot of education. That's what funds come up from again, which is something that the executive director would probably.
Just for the tax rate, not for fire prevention.
Yeah, just,
That we don't have a line.
You gotta get fair advertising notices, education material.
Yeah, see right up there. Yeah.
There.
Yeah, so,
I was just checking.
so there was no, that kind of thing, the 35,000 is just the cost that would be paid to the county with building collection plus, any sort of other costs that relate to putting the measure together or putting facts out to voters within the district, so.
So down the road, we don't have a levy or any kind of special thing going on. We already have tax base established, so it's not to be implemented.
Right.
So where are we at right now with the total dollar amount for this next year's budget? Just so that I'm sure I'm writing down the right numbers.
Maybe plug in these final figures here just to make sure the math is correct.
To cost per thing, focus groups. So we love.
As of right now, the having through personnel services total is up to 170,000. Materials and services total is 139,200. And if we kept the contingency at the same dollar amount, your unappropriated ending fund balance is 980,800. So the total budget amount doesn't change, but just the individual amounts change a little bit.
So 409,200 is where we're at.
only legal stuff would have some written contract.
So we just took ourselves to 3.5 years from 5.
Yeah. Well, he said 4.
Well, yeah, total we have, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I think the big thing for you in reference to that comment is, we're focusing on how far out carry the money that we have. But with the district, really should be looking forward into what can we do over the next 2 years when we have an impact.
Right.
And that really, we're here to settle a budget, but almost front load that budget for the first year, 2 years, and then it's like, okay, we need to really focus on 3 because it didn't pass. Now how are we going to get through it? Or it did pass, now we got a lot of work to do. So I hate to say, I don't want to see the budget focus so much on the end game. I want to see us focus on the impact that we can make right now.
Just so the budget committee knows, just because we have money in our budget, we're not just going out and doing stuff.
No.
We're pretty thrifty on what we do if we want it to last.
You need to.
The board, and I'm talking to the budget committee, so they know that we're not just out there.
Yes.
Boom, 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 right? We're all pretty frugal on it, and we want this thing to be able to go the long term.
Well, in English, it's to the taxpayer.
You get a credit card, so you. Other than this guy.
The rest of the budget committee asked about this, Ralph, about the expenses incurred for legal from last year. It may not be, there'll be some, but not much, hopefully. For reviewing Phil's contract would be one thing. Legal would probably have to go over, but after that.
We started the year pretty heavy as soon as we got into the office, and that was, starting I said July 1st and July 11th, we had a quarter. So it was like all this stuff was happening before we actually, the board got in to start settling down, and then a lot of those fees were required before we even came in. But with the outlook of what's going in our future, I don't see that happening anytime soon again.
And Phil's I'll still come out of this year's budget anyway.
Yeah.
Before we got in as the board, they had spent $40,480 on legal fees.
Yeah, it was heavy.
Jay, for me, it's just a curiosity question for me. Like for each of the line items, does a district like this have the same kind of account structure that the county has or a school district has, where you've got, like you have your fund number and then a function and an object which tells you like what the program is, and then the object tells you like what the thing is? Or does it be the same thing?
So this is just all one general fund budget, and there aren't any departments established yet because there just isn't that level of activity yet, and there won't be until your tax base is approved by voters. So once that happens, I would assume that you would establish different departments. You'd establish operational department, administrative department, and then it would be a little bit more of a traditional chart account structure within the budget and the budget system that is a little bit more typical.
And that's
So they things, they don't have to allocate it to a specific line item?
So it depends on the source. When you're dealing with ASB, as opposed to FASB, you have your general fund, and that's allocated to us. If Candy donates fire truck to us, that may have a different category, to go with, or if he offers us $100,000, but it has to be spent on a specific item, PPE, then that again is a restricted fund.
Right.
So, your question, the district is so young that I don't think any accounting software has been put in place yet.
No, it's correct. No, correct. So originally we were given 325 for this 2025, 2026 budget. They gave 325 under the line item of materials and services. That was it.
And
That was all we had to start with.
So when this is submitted to the state, because you have to submit it to the Department of Revenue, right? And so they're okay with there not being like line item structure to the budget? Because it's a new district, is that?
It'll just, what they would submit to the state and what they would have on the budget adoption resolution would just show the categories. So they won't have all of these items. It's only going to show personnel services, materials and services, capital outlay, contingency, and programs. So just those categories is all official paper is going to show.
Okay.
Next year, executive director, still report different, I'm sure.
Do we have a job description, official job description for executive director?
Yes, it's on you.
And so we're going through the process of getting executive director.
Who's right there?
Is he officially your executive director yet? Is there a meeting that's happening with
Still a process. The tentative hiring date was May 1st.
So you guys in the arts, he's starting out full-time, full wages. From the get-go, it's just gonna continue that way with my step up.
It's like it's everything. There's a wage range.
Yeah, there's a range. You could say if you wanted to do it right now, there's two steps, there's the low and high.
Do we have, or do we, so salary is a salary?
Yeah.
We had a compensation package that we agreed on a number that kind of got him going in the direction of the budget. But where we're at right now is because of the process that we're going through, we haven't sat down and actually negotiated that. We just came up with a number.
And that's the plan,
Yeah.
to that, like the amount of work isn't there yet. Going to be.
It is. If you saw what the work is they're asking, it's,
Yeah. especially to hit
Yeah.
the ballot on 27.
It is a hard.
Getting scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you had to find frankly.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so, any other questions or comments on line items or categories? Okay. So what has been, again, to repeat, we're at from approved motions of the committee, either total resources are still the same, so the total budget is still the same, but we're now at 170,000 for personnel services total. We have a material and services total of 139,200. Capital outlay is 0. Contingency is still at 200,000, so that's an amount that the board can pull from. It's just a simple transfer of appropriation board resolution that needs to be done if you ever need to pull money out of that category and put it into any of the other spending categories. So that's still at 200,000. And then the unappropriated union fund balance, which is meant to carry over to future fiscal years. You can't touch that under any circumstances unless it's like a natural disaster sort of thing. In that circumstance, you could touch it, but the unappropriated ending fund balance is 980,800. So that would be your minimum carryover if you spent the rest of the budget. But contingency is not meant to be, it's meant to be just there for unexpected things that come up throughout the year. If you don't spend any or transfer any of that for use, that ends up just adding to the ending fund balance, and you would end up carrying over closer to 1.2 million into the next fiscal year after. So total budget is still the same, but those individual appropriation category changes are as noted. So if there is no further discussion, then Mr. Chair, you could entertain.
Sorry, just real quick, I see, sounds like that one has roots. We have a listing, well, it's city.
It's currently in the county, it would be in, they'll get, it has been transferred already. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's certain money that's kept in the checking account, and the majority of it, I assume, will be kept in the state's local government.
Yes, we had to put 250 in saving. Evergreen required that to keep it checking, so 250, not 250. It's 250.
So I want to just clarify what Mark hit on earlier, that contingency fund. Now that you explained to me that the natural disaster emergency can override that. Is there now benefit to maybe lowering and not having the 200,000 because, or do we want to just leave it?
Just carry over anyhow.
It's still going to benefit us at the end if we don't spend it, but it gives us the ability to grab it if we have to.
So the board flexibility for anticipated things that may come throughout the year.
So what the board would do, since they have a balance on the checking account right now, when 2026 budget starts, the 26-27, this 409,200, whatever's left in the checking account would be subtracted from that, and that amount would be taken out and put into the checking account and make a certain amount of starting.
Yeah, we currently have a balance in the checking account of 265, 5261, 255,000.
Right, so unless there's any other discussion, we could, Mr. Chair, you can entertain a motion to approve the budget as amended.
Sure. So, yeah, let's, just entertain.
Entertain the motion to
So,
Vote on the budget for the fiscal year 2026, 2027.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2026, 2027 budget as amended.
second.
Yes.
Oh, further.
Oh, we gotta do discussion.
Do we,
we have to let him make those motions because he never gets to make motions.
I never get to. I know,
Discussion.
but yeah, but that's okay. Is there anybody else?
Discussion?
Thanks for giving your guys time. Any other discussion? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Congrats, you have a improved budget. Hearing this motion. Job is in.
Okay, if you wanna, I think there's that for Wi-Fi print. Print that new modified budget.
Something you see more. Stop sharing.
Yeah. I can't even imagine sitting through one of your rural districts, but
Mr. Mayor, if you'd like to finish it.
But
Yeah.
So, an additional analysis of this committee requests or comments.
Yeah, so. Just for the record, the committee does technically need to take, public comment, but I did, I don't. We public here, and so technically we do have to open it up for comments from the public, but I don't know if the public that's here wants to make any comments to her. Each time we have.
Be careful when he says that to me.
In attendance. Yes.
Yes, thanks, Jim.
Thank you. 6:30, which should have technically been for approving the budget, but we didn't use the public here, so it wasn't as pressing as it might be if the public was in attendance, so.
We didn't have anybody over there. So.
For the record, we did open it up to public comment, but there just wasn't.
So, without anything else, we can adjourn the Midland Area District Budget Committee meeting.
without objection.
Adjourn.
What time?
Like 7:20.
7:20. Thank you all. Okay, thank you for.
See you all next week.